They ate her own share of food in front of her, and laughed at her while she watched in silence, 1 second's pause. She stood outside the party starving. While the people inside are laughing at her because she was poor, she lives in total poverty. Her body was really shacking because of hunger. It has been 3 days since she ate a small portion of food. The aroma of food from the party filled the air. Hot rice, fresh meat, warm soup, and hot yam scent filled the air. While she stood outside watching people eat and dance, she was denied access into the compound because of security personnel blocked the entrance to the event. They said to her, "Young lady, where is your invitation card? This event is strictly by invitation. No invitation letter, no entry." Her stomach hurt her because of how hungry she is. But nobody noticed, and nobody cared. She sat quietly in the corner of the crowded family gathering, trying not to look at the plates everyone else was enjoying. But nobody there realized something terrifying. The hungry girl they mocked that night would one day return richer, more powerful, and more respected than every single person laughing at her. There was pain filled in her heart, and suddenly someone laughed at her. Why is she even here if she can't contribute anything? She's just another burden. Her mother failed her. She'll probably stay poor forever. Every word hit harder than the hunger. And still, she said nothing. Because when life humiliates you long enough, silence becomes survival. But that night, as she walked home with tears running down her face and an empty stomach, she made a promise to herself. One day, the same people who rejected her would stand up when she entered a room. And years later, that promise changed everything. 3 seconds pause. Here is how it all started. Her name was Divine. She grew up in a tiny village where poverty wasn't temporary, but it was inherited. She grew up in the kind of place where dreams disappeared before they even had a chance to grow. Her father died when she was young. Her mother struggled endlessly just to keep them alive. Her mother worked endlessly selling vegetables under the burning sun just to keep the family alive. Some days Divine ate once, while some days she won't eat at all because there is not food at her home. And sometimes, Divine will pretend that she wasn't hungry so her younger siblings could eat instead. But hunger changes people. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. It teaches you painful lessons early. Like how quickly people lose respect for you when you have nothing. At school, other children mocked her worn-out uniform, while some refused sitting beside her because her shoes smelled from age and dust. During lunch break, she will sat alone pretending to read while others ate. At home, relatives avoided helping them. Not because they couldn't, but because poverty makes people uncomfortable. Nobody wants to stand too close to struggle. Over time, Divine became invisible. The girl nobody expected anything from. And eventually, even she started doubting herself. Maybe they were right. Maybe this was all her life would ever be. But then something happened that changed her forever. One afternoon, Divine followed her mother to the market. The hot sun burned above them while traders shouted loudly trying to attract customers. Her mother sold vegetables from a small wooden table near the roadside. Business was slow. Very slow. Hours passed. Almost nobody bought anything. Then suddenly, a wealthy woman arrived in a shiny black SUV. Everyone immediately treated her differently. Smiles, respect, attention. Divine noticed it instantly. The woman bought vegetables carelessly without checking prices. Money clearly meant nothing to her. As the woman turned to leave, she accidentally bumped into Divine. The basket of tomatoes fell into the dirt. Tomatoes rolled everywhere. People stared. Divine quickly bent down trying to gather them before they were crushed. But instead of helping, the woman looked disgusted. "Poor people are always causing problems," she said coldly. Some traders laughed. Others looked away awkwardly. Divine froze. Her face burned with humiliation. But what hurt most was her mother's silence. Not because she agreed, but because poverty had already taught her mother something painful. When you're poor, you endure disrespect quietly. That moment stayed in Divine's heart forever. Not as weakness, as fuel. That night, she couldn't sleep. Rain leaked through the roof of their small hut while everyone else rested. Divine stared into the darkness, thinking about the rich woman. Thinking about respect. Thinking about power. And slowly, something dangerous began growing inside her. Ambition. For the first time in her life, she realized something. People weren't respected because they were kinder. They were respected because they were successful. And Divine wanted that respect. Desperately. From that night onward, she changed. While others slept, she studied old books, business magazines, borrowed newspapers, anything she could find. Knowledge became her escape, her secret weapon. Years passed. Divine grew older, but life remained difficult. After secondary school, she wanted to continue her education. But there was no money. Relatives refused to help. One even laughed openly. University? For her? That's a waste. Those words broke something inside her. But they also strengthened her. Because rejection can either destroy you or harden your determination. At 19, Divine made the hardest decision of her life. She left the village. No savings. No connections. No certainty. Just hope. And sometimes hope is the only thing poor people can afford. The city was brutal. Cold faces. Fast lives. Endless struggle. Nobody cared about her story. For months, she worked small jobs, cleaning restaurants, washing dishes, selling food. She worked until her feet hurt and her hands became rough. Still, it wasn't enough. Some nights she cried alone inside her tiny rented room. Not because she hated hard work, but because success felt so far away. And loneliness makes dreams feel impossible. One evening after work, Divine sat outside a restaurant exhausted and hungry. Customers laughed inside while she counted the few coins in her pocket. Not enough for proper food. Again. At that moment, she almost gave up. Almost. But then she remembered something. The market. The laughter. The humiliation. And suddenly, her pain became strength again. She stood up slowly and decided her story would not end there. Over time, Divine noticed something important while working in restaurants. People loved food that reminded them of home. Food connected to emotion, to memories, to comfort. And suddenly, an idea formed. She started cooking recipes her mother taught her. Simple meals. Authentic flavors. At first, she sold food in tiny portions to workers nearby. Very small business. Very small profit. But customers kept returning. Then bringing friends. Then posting online. Slowly. Her food became popular. For the first time in her life, people noticed her for something positive. And Divine worked harder than ever. No sleep. No excuses. No stopping. Years passed. The small food business became a restaurant. Then another. Then another. Success came slowly at first. Then all at once. Suddenly, magazines wanted interviews. Business owners requested partnerships. Investors called constantly. The same world that once ignored her now respected her. But nothing prepared her for the moment she returned home. The village looked smaller than she remembered. Dusty roads. Old houses. Familiar faces. But this time, everything felt different. A luxury convoy stopped near the marketplace. Villagers gathered immediately. Whispers spread everywhere. Who is that? That car is expensive. Then the door opened. And Divine stepped out. Elegant. Confident. Powerful. Silence filled the air. The same people who once mocked her now stared in disbelief. Some couldn't even speak. And then she saw the wealthy woman from years ago. Older now. Still proud. But no longer untouchable. Their eyes met. Recognition hit instantly. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the woman forced an awkward smile. Divine, look at you now. But Divine noticed something fascinating. The woman's voice sounded different. Respectful. Careful. Because success changes how the world speaks to you. Years ago, she was treated like nothing. Now, people stood when she arrived. And yet, the most emotional moment happened later that evening. Divine visited her old home. The small leaking hut was still there. Her mother sat quietly outside. Older now. Tired. But smiling proudly. The moment they hugged, Divine broke down crying. Not because of pain. Because she finally realized something. She survived. All the hunger. All the rejection. All the humiliation. None of it defeated her. And as tears rolled down her face, her mother whispered softly, "I always knew you were meant for more." At that moment, every painful memory suddenly became worth it. Because success is not just about money. It's about becoming proof that your circumstances do not define your future. Today, Divine feeds families across the country through her businesses. She builds schools, supports struggling mothers, helps children stay in school. Not because she forgot where she came from, but because she remembers it too well. And sometimes, the people who suffered the most become the ones who help others breathe easier. So if life is humiliating you right now, if people reject you, if you feel invisible, remember this: the same hunger that hurts you today may become the reason you succeed tomorrow. And one day, the people who ignored your pain will witness your greatness. Not because you were lucky, but because you refused to surrender. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and share this video. See you in my next video.